What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. How y'all doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're coming from. How's everybody? What's up, what's up, what's up? Hey, we had some folks in here before I even got in here. Let's see. Azuker, thank you for the prime before, like an hour before. That's wild. Thank you so much. And Blah with the raid of 7. Let's go, Blah, coming in. I love it. Love to see it. That's awesome. Tony Diamond, thank you for the 7 months of Jeff Bezos' bucks with the whoa. And Nicole's, thank you for the 6 months. I appreciate that. Don't know what day it is all day. Well, you knew to come here. That's all that matters, right? Good to see you, Yobi. Mayan, thank you for the 9 months. That's wild. 9 months, y'all. We've been together for a while. Mayan, thank you for the 9 months. I appreciate that. Thor, thank you. It's I gotta get to the barber. I gotta get there, but gotta shape it a little bit, but it's getting there. It's getting bigger. Judgment Day telescope. No. I mean, there's a lot to do, so maybe, but that's not the way I like to put it. Where did the time go? You telling me. OCC in the house. Thank you for the 300 bits. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's wild. Newest member of the stream team soon. Yes, hoping so. Was a baby Deb with the 100 bits. Thank you so much. 9 months, our baby will be here any minute now. I hope not. So we got some fun stuff tonight. We're going to bring back the React. We're gonna go slow. We're gonna take our time. We're not gonna overdo it. All right, we're not gonna overdo it. We're gonna bring back the React, get comfortable with it, see some older class-based code and some newer function components, and we'll keep going. We'll keep going. Dev Henry, looking forward to June. Hey, thank you for the 7 months. Sergio, let's get it with the 6 months. And Pi, what? Thank you so much, Pi. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. That's wild. Thank you so much, Pi. I appreciate you. Thank you for the gifted subs. Rockefeller Nerd, oh my god, I can code. I learned some React earlier in the week. Thank you. Hey, there you go. You put in the work, you learn, right? I sent a highlighted message. It was, what was the GitHub repo you're looking for? We'll cover all of it, but I'm looking for like your GitHub repo. Yeah, like your for like your GitHub page, and then for there's like specific repos that I want, but we'll go through it together. Only gotten denials and a couple recruiters so far. Still pushing though. Remember, numbers game. Tell me when you're at 60. We don't get got, we go get. Exactly, Pi. I appreciate you. Thank you. Had a phone chat about a job. They went with someone else, but it was a good learning experience. Exactly. All right, exactly. Keto Freak, yes, we've been doing, this is class 47. So some knowledge is required, but we're not doing anything too heavy. We're mainly looking at code and looking at some of the odd and interesting bits of it. So even if you're not super into React and super kind of JavaScript heavy, I think you can still get something from it. But you can always do !100 devs to learn more about our bootcamp. Hey, 42, I missed y'all too. Glad you're all here. Yeah, I know not everyone can make the Friday sessions. The Friday session was great, and then Sunday office hours, so it's good to see everybody. Do we have to submit before the end of class? I'm giving y'all 24 hours to submit. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, 24 hours starting now. Go. No, it's a race. No. But we'll get to it. Don't worry. It's all planned. We'll get through it. I already see some folks submitting, but we'll go over it all and make sure everybody feels comfortable with it. Daddy Hanky, thank you for the 9 months of Prime. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Alrighty, folks. We got some fun stuff to get in tonight. We're talking about Mega Month June. I'm excited. I'm hype. We're going to take a look at some React, bring that back into the fold. You got some homework tonight. I got some questions I need you to answer before Thursday. And you had some beginning kind of interview prep that you were supposed to be working on as well. So both of those things are going to be due Thursday. We'll come back Thursday and we'll start actually coding some React and like getting into the thick of it. We're building out our to-do list in React. So the to-do list we built before, we're doing it again. Anonymous with the 10 gifted subs. That's wild. Thank you, Anonymous. I appreciate you. So many people got gifted subs today. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. You had a lot of folks get gifted subs. Dr. Justin, Khan, Exid, Winter, Kitty. Wow. And then 10 more. Anonymous. I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you. Thank you. And Secret Reply too with the 100 bits. Thank you so much. So we had the homework was to work through a Scotch.io interview course. It was like data structures and algorithms course. And so that's all due Thursday. Cool. Yeah, we always have somebody anonymous. I wonder if it's the same person or not. I would love to know who you are, but I appreciate you. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. We need to do I'm so effing proud that I got my MVP working. Hey, I'd love to hear it. We need to do like an MVP showcase. Speedwagon, hey, thank you for the gifted sub. Can we just get like a wall of emotes, please, for all the gifted subs? I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I'm gonna throw some of my bobs in here real quick. Yeah, I think an MVP showcase would be cool. Maybe on the 15th when everything's due, we get a few folks that want to show out. That'd be cool. It'd be cool to get some folks on the actual stream. We've never done that before. Thank you all so much for the emote spam. Thank you everyone for the gifted subs. I'm glad you're all here. Excited to have some fun tonight. It's gonna be chill. I know we took that week to kind of get further in the MVP, so you might have not have the React stuff all dusted the way you want it to be. So we're gonna go easy and get it going. So tonight will be React, Thursday will be React, and then Tuesday and Thursday next week all React. And so we're gonna get our to-do list up and running, make sure we all understand it, make sure we can actually start building stuff with React, and then we're switching gears. It becomes all the stuff we need to actually interview. So all of our data structures, our algorithms, adding some other like finishing touches like testing and a little bit of Postgres just so that we feel comfortable for any of the interviews that we go into. Will you be booking any calls this month or just for those who are doing June Mania? Chris, send me a mod mail. Happy to talk to you. But yeah, I'm not doing any like the normal open. I need all the time I can get with the folks that are doing Mega Month June because there's a lot of y'all. And so there's only one me. And so it's going to take me a long time to get through all of y'all, but I'm going to do it. Basically, every day in June is one-on-ones with y'all. Hey, Reggie, I appreciate the 5 gifted subs. I really do. Appreciate that. Thank you for being here. And Sheena, thank you for the 100 bits. How about the 10 small apps we're supposed to build for the companies we're hunting for? How do we decide which company we're aiming for? That's on you. Those top 10 are like the 10 companies you're the most interested in. 3D said, how many forms came in? Right now, I don't think there'd be that many because I haven't really, well, there's already 20 that have come in and I'm giving you all 24 hours. I think we're going to have 100. I think 100 is where it's going to wind up sticking. Based on some of the past work that's been submitted, I think the total going into Mega Month June will be 100 people. Is a PDF file fine? Yep, exactly. That's totally cool with me, DNBO, for your signature page. Hey Leon, some of the engineers at a company I work at are working on a side project and they say I can join them. Can I switch my open source project to that? Yeah, absolutely, Mcode. That's great because that'll network your way in and then hopefully they have a job, you know? Maybe you make it easier to transition. What is this, a vote for the hype trade? That's wild. We need our little bark emote for Mashi and Simba. Working on it. Mcode, if any of the repos are public, it still works. If it's not, send me a mod mail. We can make it work. When is there a new cohort? We don't know yet. Probably October. Yeah, probably October. But all of our stuff is on YouTube. We have a Discord community of over 3,000 people that want to help you. So you can do !100devs to learn more about this one, or join our Discord, !Discord. Don't wait until October to start. Alrighty, folks. Let me go ahead and we're going to go to... Hey, Reggie says, it's still at 24 hours for MVP. Well, I'm giving you 24 hours to submit everything. So I think the astute among us would see that there's 24 hours to finish things up if we needed to. So feel free, Reggie. If you need those extra hours, take them. Hey, Robo. I have a copy paste text message because I've had at least 10 people ask me about the cohort. Hey, there you go. Hey, Memphis, good luck with that. Yeah, Reggie, I would say go ahead and make everything nicer. Use the same links and don't resubmit. Just update stuff on your end and you'll be good. I won't look at them until tomorrow. Still catching up. I don't think I'm ready for Mega June. Not giving up. Hey, that's what I like to hear. I think you're in good company. I think about half the folks that are here will go into Mega Muff June. I think about half of folks kind of need a little bit more time to keep going. That's totally fine. We're still gonna be here. Everything will be live. The only thing that you're missing out on in June is kind of like one-on-ones and a private channel just so I can start looking at people's interviews. But you can still use channel points after June and things like that to get the time that you need. MVPs are okay to be ugly. You can add the styling when everything's there. Yeah, I think we're gonna have like a good two good groups, right? We're gonna have folks that are going into June that we're able to pull things together, but we're still gonna have another half of folks that are kind of be doing it a little bit later. So we'll be here. We'll be able to help later on. So I think you're in good company. Yeah. Alrighty, folks. Let me go to Little Leon here, and we're gonna get right into the slides because a lot of the stuff we're kind of talking about are already in the slides. So I'd rather go through it that way as well. Glad you're all here. Hope you're doing well. It's been a minute since we've been on normal class time. I know a lot of you came on Friday. A lot of you came on Sunday. But it's good to see everyone that's here. Thank you for stopping by. All right. Let's go to Little Leon here. Alrighty, folks. Keto Freak, the only thing that's not up to date is that our review sessions are now on Sundays instead of Saturdays. Nape, no, this is class 47, but you're more than welcome to join us. Hey, Wolfpack, how you doing? Alrighty, so we're talking through some 100 dev stuff. We're going to talk about why React. We talked about that a week or two ago. So bringing that back into the fold. Let me chill the music here. Boom. So we talked a little about why React. Now we're going to talk a little bit more and review kind of what are components, what are props, what are state. Then we're going to take a look at some functional components. We're going to look at some hooks. And your homework is to... if you haven't watched Traversy Media's video, You need to watch it. We're going to be using a lot of the same code, strategies, things like that. And that way you have a larger bit of reference. But if you haven't gotten to it yet, you have to watch it before Thursday. Also, part of your homework was to complete this Scotch.io course. That should be done by Thursday. We need all the time that we can get going into Mega Month June. And you got to get the homework done. You got to get the reading done, or else we're going to go a little too fast. Nape, yep, all of our stuff is on YouTube. You can do ! YouTube if you want to see all of them. But you can also do ! 100 devs, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about the bootcamp. Alrighty, folks. While we're here, just create a little bit of space for some questions. We already had some good ones coming in. Always like to create a little bit of space. Give myself a little chance to get some water. Ease on in. Yep. Jared, the crash course videos are going up this week. I had to edit them a little bit. And so I edited them, and there's like 3 classes that are going to be in one video. So I wanted to edit them a little bit, and they're going up this week. Probably either tomorrow or Friday. Yeah. LA meetups in the mix. I think it's gonna be a little bit later than we were talking, but definitely 100 devs first, like big meetup will be happening soon in LA. We'll give folks a lot of time to know when it's coming up, but sometime this summer for sure. I feel like I have to interact in person to confirm you're all real. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking like late then, blah. Like I am thinking like July, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll give more folks the chance to get vaccinated. June's going to be really rough time-wise for me because I'm in 101s all the time anyway. So, cool. Alrighty. This is your 10-second warning. Whenever you see this, you know you got 10 seconds before we go to the next slide. 5 seconds. This month, folks, today is June 1st, which means... True set, hello? Which means y'all ready? It's Mega Month June. Mega Month June, y'all. Let's go. Feel the vibe. Mega Month June. Been waiting for it. You know it's coming. It's here now. Let's go. Mega Month June. Put your emotes in chat. Feel it. They said it could be done. We were like, nah, we got this. One more drop. Feel the drop. Wait for it. Hydrate. Alrighty, folks. It's Mega Month June. I'm so excited. This is the most time I'm ever going to get to spend with y'all, and I am super, super pumped. So Mega Month June has a lot of amazing stuff in store. You all know that June will be our one-on-one. So I'm going to be meeting one-on-one with a lot of you to look through your resumes, your portfolios, talk through your job outreach, help you with your interviewing, and be your reference. So I'm going to have time set up for reference calls where folks can call me and I can talk about them and sing your blessings. I'm going to tear apart your resume. I'm going to tear apart everything that's going to help you to get a job. All right. So that's what this month's all about. I'm very blessed to have the month of June kind of off from RC, which means I can dedicate it to y'all and put in that hustle. So June, we all know, will be 101s. But we also got an Uno tournament coming up. That's right. You heard me, folks. Uno tournament on June 18th. We're going to have some game nights throughout Mega Month June. The big one will be the Uno tournament on June 18th. So, yes, that's right. You heard an Uno tournament. There will be fabulous prizes. And you will be playing four-way with folks from 100 Devs. So, fabulous prizes to be had. June 18th will be the Uno tournament. We're playing classic rules. And we'll share the rule set and all the fun stuff ahead of time. And there will be a specific sign up so I can put together the bracket. And you'll progress through the bracket. And there will be one winner of Uno. Fabulous prizes in store for all those that win. So Uno tournament June 18th. And we got a sponsored stream coming this month as well. Microsoft is coming back to the fold. They love y'all. They want to sponsor us again. And so they're coming in big. More swag, right? More credits. Another laptop. We're doing it big, folks. And what we're doing is Microsoft has these really cool services, a part of Azure, called cognitive services, which has a lot of really neat machine learning, kind of like as a service-esque things that we're going to use. You can write JavaScript and access this really cool and fancy machine learning stuff, and we're going to use that to build a portfolio showstopper, something that's going to look really cool in your portfolio as you go through the job hunt. So we got the 101s. We got the Uno tournament. We got a sponsored stream. We're doing it big in June, folks. Real big. Cool. This Friday, for folks that are participating in Mega Month June, it will be our first interview prep session. We'll be coming together as a group to work through our card, to work through our prep, to get in our reps and start getting ready to interview, folks. We're doing lots of mock interviewing. And okay. And so Friday, 6:30 p.m. is our first one. So be prepared for Friday. Make sure that you've worked through your behavioral questions. Make sure you have a cause, an action, and a result for each of those behaviorals. Make sure you've worked through your methods, folks. I've given you 3 sets of methods work. I can't tell you how important. I'm going to go big here. I can't stress to you how important it is to do that methods work. Where a lot of folks trip, right? You've done the dash. You've been here for months. You've done the dash. You're ready to go. You got the ball in your hand. The end zone's in front of you, and you trip. And what you tripped on was not doing the methods work. What you tripped on was not doing your code wars. What you tripped on was not pushing every day. So I've asked for it multiple times. All right. I need you to get your methods work in. Make sure you know all those methods inside, out, upside down. 3 rounds, not 3 sets. Sorry, 3 rounds. Why do I keep doing that? Let's do it the real way. Three rounds of the methods work. All right. Make sure you've done them. Don't trip right before you're about to score. Right. Yeah, it was 3 rounds, not 3 sets. Make sure you've done them. Make sure you know them inside, out, upside down. You should be able to recall them, use examples, put them into your actual coding challenges. Super important. There is a set of homework that I asked y'all to start working through. That was the Scotch.io course. Super important to start your data structures and algorithmic thinking. You need to get those juices flowing so that you are ready to start interviewing after we get through Mega Month. Cool. So I'll see you all Friday. Let's see who's ready. Mega Month June's gonna be a lot, folks. We gotta get ready for these jobs, right? So Mega Month June's gonna be rough. Remember, if you're participating in Mega Month Moon, you should be Mega Month June. You should still be checking in every class. We had a lovely tweet today. Make sure you checked in. You should still be networking through all of this. All right, you should still be networking through all of this. You owe me 1 coffee chat and 3 connections, of course, every week, unless you set up an alternative with me already. MMB, I think that's a good strategy. You should be pushing every day. Right? You should be pushing every day. And your client signature or approved pull request and your MVP are all due today. They are all due today. If you're looking for that Scotch.io course, it is a course in the Follow Along Materials channel on Discord. If you are new here, you can do !Discord to join us and 3,000 other people, where we would love to help answer your coding questions. And in the Follow Along Materials channel, there is a post for today, and on that post is the link to that Scotch.io course if you missed it. So client signature, approved PR, MVP, we're all due today. I am giving you 24 hours to submit. You can click this link here in the slides, and it will take you to the form to submit everything. So I am asking you for the name by which you identify, your Twitch name, your Discord name, and your email, please. I want to see the team project repo. I want to see your team project live. I want to see your hit list, your methods work where you did all the things. Oh, crap. Thank you. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you. I want to see the name by which you identify, Twitch name, Discord name, email, links to your team project stuff. I want to see the link to your hit list. If that is a Google spreadsheet, which it should be, then make sure that it is set to anyone with the link can view it. Otherwise, I won't be able to take a look. Make sure that you've included your methods work. For a lot of you, probably have already done this. That's okay. I want to see your Code Wars repo where you're pushing your Code Wars to. I want to see your link to your GitHub. Don't ignore the word repo there. I just want your GitHub link, like your base GitHub. Yes, I need OCC. I need everyone to submit this. Even if you submitted this stuff before, I need you to resubmit it so that I have it all in one place for myself. I need you to link to your client signature or approved PR. I need a link to your MVP repo, and I need a link to your hosted MVP. So those are all the things that are due within the next 24 hours. I'm probably going to start adding folks to tonight to a private channel for everyone that submitted this stuff. But I'll check again, like I said, in those 24 hours and get everyone in there. It takes me a really long time to add everyone to private channels. So do me a favor and get it in as quickly as possible. That way I can spread it out over tonight and tomorrow. A sweet Scorpio, for the client signature, are you just looking for the contract? Yep, wherever they sign. That's what I'm looking for. Yep, so you could either gotten a signed contract from a paid client, a grassroots client, or you could submit an open source project where I need to see the approved pull requests. 3D, why would you not push it to GitHub? Push it to GitHub. And give me the link. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions about this while we're here? Just a minute. Now I go cry. Indifferent. What's going on? Welcome to Mega Month June. Alrighty, cool. Feel good about that? Let's keep pushing. Remember, your 100 hours project is due June 15th. You got 2 weeks. Hey, Indifferent. Thank you for the gifted subs. I appreciate that. Katie, Darn Spotted Cat, Alex, Gromit, Lost ECS. There you go. Thank you so much for the gift of subs. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. When is a project ever complete? Let's not get philosophical here. I want it. Well, here's the only answer. June 15th is when a project is complete. So on Tuesday, all right. On Tuesday, June 15th, I want to see some completed projects. No MVPs, the bells, the whistles, the fanciness, the styling, impeccable. Chef's kiss off the top. So MVP is due within the next 24 hours, and then the whole thing is due June 15th. And Different, thank you again for the gift of subs. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Just a Bell, thank you for the 5 months of Bezos's bucks. Thank you so much. Well, hey, thank you for being here. Cheese, please. What's going on? All right. So, click this link. Make sure you fill out this form within the next 24 hours so I can add you to Mega Month June, to the private channels and all that fun stuff. Make sure that you realize June 15th is when everything is due. Right? And you also owe me 10 premium job applications completed by June 15th as well. So MB's already put it into chat for us. When I say 10 premium job applications, I'm talking about 10 small applications, a static landing page, 10 cover letters, and 10 resumes that are all geared towards that open position that you're networking into. You're going over and beyond with those 10 companies that you networked into to really show out and make sure you get the interview and that the first interview goes well. What's an example of a small application? It really is dependent on each job, right? Can we create these apps in teams? OCC? No. You gotta start differentiating yourself here now. You gotta start making sure that well, I guess you could build them together, but they should be different projects in the end, right? Let me clarify that, right? So small apps. Let's somebody give me a company. All right. Let's say I had somebody that's I have a couple students that went to DraftKings. So DraftKings does fantasy sports betting. A simple app might be pulling in player data from whatever sports ball team is playing this week and displaying it in a really nice fancy way and having folks like pull in like the odds of winning and stuff like that. Nothing too wild, something that demonstrates your ability to code and something that shows that you're really interested in the role. Shopify, if you're applying to Shopify, you should build out probably like a shopping cart of some sort that has some good functionality, maybe a quick back end for that shopping cart, but something that should take you 5+ hours ish. Yeah. 23andMe, a good example would be like if somebody uploads their own code, like their own sequence, right? Maybe it can spot an SMP or something interesting in that sequence of data and just output like, hey, you have this marker, right? Like a marker for a certain trait, something like that, right? Nothing too wild, nothing you're going to sink hours and hours into, but something to show that you at least understand the product, right? All right. At least you understand the product and that you're willing to put in the effort to get it across the side. SpaceX, build your own rocket. Yeah. There's this, what is the YouTuber's name? There's this YouTuber that's trying to build a self-landing rocket. And it's one of the best YouTube channels I've ever come across. It's really cool. So yeah, that would be a great project for them if they wanted to apply to SpaceX. Yeah, so it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to build out these like very small apps. The static landing pages are kind of just like a landing page that like introduces yourself and like why you'd be a good fit for the role. So a lot of times when you get networked into these positions, you'd want to send them like a link to like your portfolio, and that portfolio should have a landing page specifically for that company. Yeah. Yeah, Karen, that's a really good idea. So might help to stalk the target's company repos on GitHub and see if there's anything they're working on, try to build a small app or help fix a bug. If they have anything that's open source, getting in there and fixing a bug kind of replaces that idea for a simple app. A lot of companies don't have their repos public, which means you can't really always do it. But a lot of times they have maybe some internal tools or an open source project that they support that you could jump on to. Can we use our current portfolios to be for freelancing? Absolutely can. That should be the base for it, but you're adding like a small project and a small landing page on top. Catch DiSorno's is doing the math right now. 5+ hours times 10 apps plus 100 hours project plus learn React plus learn data structures and algorithms plus all the little things equals not much sleep in June. Let's go. Please get sleep. We know that memory consolidation is real, but be vigilant with the hours that you do have. Don't let any hour slip through, right? Let every hour that you have ready be put to use. Code replaces sleep. What have I created? All right. So we know that those things are due. You know that we you know that we have these things due within the next 24 hours. And once we end stream tonight, I'm going to start adding folks to a private channel to help kind of start the process of getting things going in terms of Mega Month June. So lots of fun stuff. We got our Uno tournament, which is coming up. Get prepared, get some practice games in, all right? Sleep deprived gamblers, Leon. That's what you've created. I'll take it. Mega Month June, I'll take it. Who cares? I'll take it. Can you post the private channel link again? No. So people will only get added to it if they filled out the form, and it won't happen until tonight. Let's get a YOLO in. I feel we should do a YOLO. Let's do a YOLO. Let's get a YOLO in. We haven't done a YOLO in a minute. If I'm creating sleep deprived gamblers, let's get our fix in real quick. Let's do a math. Dot seal. And we're going to do times 2. And so it's going to be a 1 or a 2 here, folks. 1 or a 2. Let me go ahead and start the prediction on my side. All right, going to start a prediction. All right, starting a prediction in 3, 2, 1. The prediction has been started. You can predict 1 or 2. One or 2 here if you would like to participate in the YOLO. The first YOLO of June. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. You can click the banner at the top of your chat. That's how you can pick 1 or 2. Izzy's all in. All right. How many points we got going? So, ooh, we got like 300K on one side. Exactly, Reggie. They said, so these premium apps don't need to be full stack like 100 hours projects. Just a relevant tool for the company we're applying for. Exactly. The more you add to it, the better. But yeah, I'm not getting got. All right. I think that's everyone in. Let's go ahead and run this. 3, 2, 1, roll. Ooh, we got a 2. We got a 2. All right, let me go ahead and confirm the prediction. That was a 2. Completing the prediction now. All right, the 2s have it. Congrats on the YOLO. You made it over 100K, Pi? That's wild. Let's
First
go.
try.
First try. There you go. I love it. At 104. Wow, we got people in the hundreds now. That's wild. I mean, that's like 4 more YOLOs and you're there, right? Like, come on. June is a bad month for me. Sorry, Soft. I shouldn't have laughed. Sorry, Softest. 126 to flow. Whew. I'm saving my points for resume reviews. You're not using your points for YOLOs? Come on now. I had 200K once. Really? I didn't realize somebody had gotten that high before. That's wild. I love that it says 646,000 go to Bill Gates and 41 others. What happens if I see details? I've never seen this before. Oh, I can see it in here. Oh, it does show me the top one. I didn't know I could see who voted, who put in the most. So Bill Gates put in 37,001, and Magic Marcos though put in 40K and lost. I wonder if it shows me all of them, if there's like some other setting or something like that. That's wild. Magic Marcos with the not like this emotes. It is the real Bill Gates. They got all those channel points. Just YOLO and channel points. Like, it doesn't matter. All right. So, we got Mega Month June coming up. We got all these wonderful things. The Uno tournament. We got some other surprises. The sponsored streams. So much more swag and stuff to go out. Whew. But tonight, we got some React. And so we're going to review the things that we saw last time, talk a little bit about why React. And then tonight's about seeing, right? Tonight's about seeing, looking, kind of seeing components come together. It's not a night for vocabulary. It's not a night for really deeply understanding the things that we're going to get to, like what are hooks and how do we use them? What are the different ones that we can use? What are like these older life cycle? No, not tonight. Tonight's about understanding the why, seeing it come together, picking apart the difficult parts that make it hard to see things come together. And then there's a set of questions that I want you to take away asking yourself about tonight. And you're going to take tonight and tomorrow to answer those questions. And then when we come back on Thursday, we're going to start actually going into the nitty gritty and really trying to understand deeply with some good examples and then starting to build. And then next Tuesday and Thursday will be building with React. So since we took that kind of week to work on MVP, I didn't want to jump right into it because I think React, if you kind of miss the why and the how and the what before you get into the code, it becomes something that people get really hung up on. But if you can understand the why, you can start to think in components, you can start to see the code coming together. It just makes a lot more sense. And so that's what we're going to spend tonight trying to do. Thursday, we'll go deep into everything. All right. So, glad you're all here. It's been a long road. We're getting to the end. All right. We got Mega Month June to get you lean, mean interviewing machines, and then you're all on the wiggles of false hope in that trough of sorrow. We're gonna get to the end. You're gonna get a phenomenal job. Time to put in the work. Shadies, that's all right. That's why we're here. Cool. Let's take a look at React. So, one of the additional things that I asked you to do with React was to read the docs. And I specifically gave you 3 things to do when it came to React. I gave you Traversy Media's video, which is a pretty long video, but covers the basics of some more modern React. I gave you Kent C. Dodd's tutorial, which covers some of the more modern React. And I gave you the tutorials to read through, the docs to read through. I think these are good resources, but they don't break things down to a fundamental level. They don't go to the beginning as much as some other resources would. And the reason why I assigned them, knowing that was the case, is because you have to get used to it. You have to start getting ready for the real world, where sometimes the documentation is not going to be great. You're all about to join a company where there might not be any documentation. You're all about to join a company where they might be using some weird tool that there's only the documentation for. And so while, yes, we're trying to learn React, it's also an exercise in starting to get comfortable with some uncomfortable bits of learning, right? And so I really want you to push yourself. If you haven't gone back and re-engage with those materials, I'm going to at least ask you to re-engage with Traversy Media's video. I know they jump a lot, and I know there are some bits that are kind of gratuitous or extra and that shouldn't be there in the beginning maybe, but that's a good thing at this point and for this exercise. You're trying to start with very little knowledge and using just the resources that are provided, figure things out, and really push yourself to engage with that code deeply. And so, yes, there are other easier to grasp React resources, but I really want you to push yourself and take the time to engage with the sources that I gave you and really see if you can come out the other side, right? That's the point. Yeah, I know they're fast. I know they can be confusing. Yeah, I know they're fast. I know they can be confusing, right? But you need to flex that muscle, right? And it's not something that, not like you're never going to go to those easier resources. Not like you're not going to go to the Scrimba or the Mosh video, which I love. But I want you to have at least some practice getting ready, right? Getting ready. And we'll spend the next couple classes, Thursday, Tuesday, and next Thursday, going into the pieces that are hard. Right? Going into the pieces that are hard. So tonight we're going to look at some code. And what I've tried to do is we're going to look through the ones that we looked through like 2 weeks ago. But I'm going to show you an older, very simple vomity React app so we can see components coming together. And then I took the code, well, not the code really. I kind of took the idea that Brad was going for in their video, and I pulled out all the pieces that I thought were extra, and we're going to bring back our to-do list using their style. So tonight we're going to see some code that we've already seen. We're going to see kind of an older class-based kind of components coming together, and then we're going to see kind of these function components coming together. See it, try and understand it, kind of clarify some of the odd bits. Then you're going to answer some questions for me, right? All right, you're going to answer some questions for me, and then we're going to come back Thursday, and we're going to tackle it the nitty gritty, going into the details, making sure that all the complicated bits make sense. Does that make sense? You kind of get what I'm trying to put down here, folks? All right. So before we take our top of the hour break, let's get the review in that we talked about, just so that's fresh in our mind. We're going to get that, the ES6 Plus review, and then we will take our break, and then we're going to jump into like why React and start looking at some of the React code. Cool. Once again, what does ES6 Plus mean? Let's get a little bit of spaced repetition in here. When I say ES6 Plus, what the heck do I mean? New shiny things, exactly. New school JavaScript. All right, cool, yeah. The newer versions of ECMAScript. What is ECMAScript? ECMAScript. What is ECMAScript, chat? Essentially JavaScript, what JavaScript is based on, kind of the standard and governing body, right? Oh, I like that. Let's get the right term in here. The specification for JavaScript, exactly. So ECMAScript is the specification for JavaScript, and we got some new stuff in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. We got all this new stuff. And it kind of really changed the way that we write JavaScript, with a lot of new kind of key things that were added. And so folks kind of like to mark ES6 Plus as kind of like all the new stuff that kind of changed the way that JavaScript was written. Or not how it was written, but all the new extras that we got, and somehow it was written. And so we, of course, got the class-based syntax, right? So we got classes. Remember to keep classes in mind, because we're gonna see them with older ways of writing JavaScript, where we could have a constructor method, and then our methods inside of the class. This is putting some syntactical sugar on the prototypal inheritance that does come with JavaScript, but it makes it easier for folks that are coming from other languages to probably write JavaScript. And of course, you can think of classes like templates for your objects. Cool. So we got classes with ES6 Plus stuff. We got some spread operators, and we're going to see these spread operators in our React a little bit. And so I wanted to make sure that you've all seen them together here. So here I have an array that has 3 letters in it. Then I have another array with 3 letters in it. And the cool thing is, if I wanted to console log each of these letters, right? If I wanted to console log each of those letters, chat, how could I do it before we had spread? If I wanted to console log each of those letters, what would I have to do? Yeah. Different, that's funny. Yeah, we need some sort of loop, right? We need to like loop through that array, grab each element, and put it in the console. Well, look at us now. Boom. Look at that ellipses, and then the variable, and you get all 3 of those values going into the console log. So the spread is really useful for kind of, you wanted to kind of just console log things out. Spread's really easy. And then something else that's really cool here is that I have a new array that I'm creating with these the square brackets. And whenever I see square brackets, I'm creating an array using what type of notation? Ooh, it's been a while since we heard that word. I have these square brackets here, which means I'm creating an array. Yeah, woo! Look at us go. Yeah, we're using literal notation. Cool. So you see we're creating a new array here using literal notation. And inside of it, I have the first array spread and the second array spread. And what that does, right? What that does is it enables me to have all the letters inside of that new array that I created using literal notation. right? So the beautiful thing here is that I'm able to, instead of doing kind of the old school concat route, I think somebody put it in chat. I think I saw it. Yeah, there we go. Instead of kind of doing like the old school concat, we now can use spread if we want to get all those letters kind of going into our new array that we then go ahead and console log. Cool. Oh, you see that spread new set? That's cool. That's a good one. All right. We can also do, just like we did array spread. All right. We can do an object spread. All right. So here we have an object that has a color property, a font size, and a font weight property. And chat, what do you notice about these property names? What's funky about those property names? Yeah, they're camel case. Why might I be showing you with camel case? Why would they be camel cased? Izzy said, "Cuz React." Exactly. Yeah, JSX. Yeah, so it's the way that we're gonna be writing stuff when we get to React when we're using our JSX. We won't use the hyphens. We're gonna be using that camel casing there. Yeah, cool. Cool. So I'm using that here just as a precursor, but I have color, font size, font weight all inside this object. And then down here I have another object. And inside of that object, I can spread the object that came up here. And so all three of these values are now inside of this style object as well. And the cool thing is we go ahead and console log that object. And what we're seeing is that when we console log it, we don't have two of each. It uses kind of the same thing we were seeing like in CSS, like as you go down the cascade a little bit here. And so we don't wind up with two, we override. Cool. So we got the color black, the font size 12. We got the font weight of bold because this one came further down. Cool. And so we're able to use a spread not only with arrays, but also here we're seeing with objects. Now, something that happens a lot in React, especially when you start using functional components and you start using hooks, you're going to see destructuring everywhere. Okay, exactly. 220. When you get to use state, you're going to see it a lot, right? And so the idea here is that you can destructure using a specific syntax. And so here you can see indifferent, my shame. I feel roasted by that one. That was a good one. Let me. There we go. What we have here is something called destructuring. And in it, we have, you can see an array with values and then array with variables, right? An array with variables. And what we're able to do is we're able to plop these values into those variables. And it's just a quick way of setting this all up. And when we go ahead and we do name, we see Bob. When we go and do team, we see 100 devs, right? And so it's just a quick way of kind of pulling these things out, and we're going to see it a lot. You're also going to see it a lot when it comes to objects as well. Same type of pattern here. We're going to have Bob be plopped into name and 100 devs be plopped into team. And so you're going to see this destructuring in a lot of different places, and we're going to see a lot of code with it today. If you're curious about destructuring and you want to get some practice, because it is really important, and the first couple of times you see it, it kind of doesn't really click in your brain that much. But if you want some practice, go ahead. Free Code Camp has a really great kind of little course on it. highly, highly, highly recommend clicking the links here in the slides and working through that free code camp little tutorial, because it really will help you understand the destructuring. Cool. Let's see where we're at time-wise. All right, we're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and take our 5-minute break. And when we come back from our 5 minutes, we're going to look at some code and we're going to keep going. So let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break. I'm going to put my timer up here on the screen. Alrighty. Go ahead and put some lovely musics on. And I will see you all in 5 minutes. Take your break, folks. Remember, we're in this for the long haul. Mega Muff June is packed. So take your breaks. If you're able to, get up, please. Stretch, hydrate, do what you got to do. Kiss some babies. And we'll see you all in 4 minutes, 45 seconds. We're going to go ahead and run some ads. We had a lot of gifted subs today. Thank you all so much for the gifted subs. I'm going to go ahead and run the ads so that new folks joining us don't have to sit through them when they join the stream. Alrighty, folks. Take a break. Leon, you broke my heart. How? How did I break your heart? I'm curious. All right, folks. You're able to take a break, get some hydration in, get some quick stretches. Oh, yeah, that happened a year ago. The Electron project I just got assigned to is written by a bunch of Java devs. Interesting. That's not fun. Yeah, no, I've been here since, what, almost a year now. Yeah. All right, folks, I'm gonna stretch real quick. Burb. Indifferent, weren't you the one that didn't you get the shirt with my faces on it, like the emotes on it? Your shirt will have the Discord eyes, I think. Did that have the Discord eyes? I think it did. Let me see. Oh, that was, let's see. Yeah, I think the middle one does. They don't let me see like in big. Yeah, I think the middle one has the Discord eyes. That's funny. You got about a minute, folks. Hey, Yobi, that's awesome. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. Just sorted through 3 weeks worth of loose socks. Feel good to have that MVP submitted. That's funny. I don't know what that means. All right, folks, we got about 30 seconds. Get your last stretches in. Ooh. My great aunt. I guess is my aunt. Yeah. No. My aunt. My aunt. Yeah, my aunt gives out socks every Christmas, and it's amazing because they give out like good socks, and I'm always very happy to get my nice good pair of socks every Christmas. All right, folks, come on back. Hope you all had a good break. Did I miss Sock Talk? I don't know what they meant by socks, but it's probably like Socket.io or something like that. But yeah, no. I love my socks every Christmas. Alrighty, folks. Come on back. All right, let's get into it. So I have a warning up on screen because we're about to look at some. Let me actually chill the music here. Alrighty, got a warning up on here. Same warning from last time. Bobby, let's start it. We're about to look at some chunky, vomity code, some things that are not best practices, some things that you should probably never ever do, some things that are not my code, but I think they actually help us see components. I think they help us see some of the things that we need to see and recognize, and I think they do it in a good way. So go into this code with a lovely warning that this is not how we'll be writing code next week. It's probably not how we'll be writing code on Thursday, but I really do think that they are good examples at showing some key things that are important to see when it comes to React. So that's my warning. I used to have like the little, do I still have the little person thingy here? I used to have like a little version of him. His name is Flash, right? I used to have like a little version of Flash. Oh, it's not here anymore. Anyway, I'll find it for future. But I used to have a little version I put in the corner, like we put in like Christos. Hey, Christos, how you doing? But I had one for Flash. I don't know what happened to it, but we're good. All right. Chat, what is React? What is React? You tell me. What's React, chat? Facebook magic? Indifferent. Is React a library or a framework? What do you say? What do you consider it? A library or a framework? I'm curious. Since you're here. Ooh. We heard it from the GOAT themselves. We're going with library, folks. React is a library for handling your UI. Time to go home. All right, that's it. We can go home. Hope you had a great Tuesday. React is a library for handling your UI. That's all we need to know, and we are good. Thank you for class, everybody. Let's see who we can raid, but no. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that there was somebody new that saw the title like "Come Learn React," and they sat through all that, and then. As a library for handling your UI, and then just disappeared. Oh, sorry. No, they got. Oh, I don't know why that amused me so much. You got. Yeah, they got. No, we're gonna go deeper than that. But there's such. Let me see what he said. But there's such an opinionated community around React that it's basically a framework. That's how I feel. I feel it's still a library, but there's a lot of opinions around it, or it's so much opinionated stuff around it that you could see it as a framework as well. But it's basically just a library for handling your UI. The key feature of React is it enables you to write components that you can reuse and extend when needed, and really doesn't handle too much other stuff than just that. And so we know we know that React was created by Facebook, right? Anybody know the language that React was written in? So that's an interesting question. Wasn't there some? I thought it was like. Isn't there some like weird like internal language? Hold on one second. I gotta look this up. I thought the first time they did it was like some weird language that wasn't actually JavaScript. Anyway, I'll come back to that. Yeah, there was something weird before the JavaScripts. Anyway, we know that React was built by Facebook, and we did talk about it a week or two ago when we first covered React. What do you why did they need to create React? Like why invest into this new project? Why redo their entire UI with React? Buckle script, rescript, and then reason ML. Yeah, there's something weird. I couldn't remember what it was called though. Right? What? Why would Facebook go through all the? I look up Law said Facebook is messy. Rudy said too many things going on, and Memphis said reusability. Yeah. Codebase was a nightmare. Reusability, I think, is a big feature here. So let's think about it. So here is an older version of Facebook's UI. And we're noticing that there are a lot of things that kind of just repeat. Right? A lot of things that are just used over and over again. Here I'm on like my I guess we'd call this like your news feed, right? Right? We call this like our news feed. And what do we have here? What would we consider this right here? What would we consider this? The thing I just circled, what would we consider that on our news feed? What would we consider that portion of the feed? What would we call that one thing? A post. Yeah, exactly, Bugaboo. A post. Now, posts have a lot of stuff that we got to get right. Posts have the time that they were posted. They have some text-based content. They have an author. They have whatever that star thingy means. They eventually probably also have likes and a bunch of other stuff. And so you have this homepage where you have a post, and you put in all this time to write all the code that made that post work. But then we go to our profile page, and our profile page also has what? Our profile page also has posts. So if we were doing it the old way, not only we'd have it does look like a screaming face. Not only would you have to write all the code to make the post, all of the logic for all those little bits and bobs and things like that, but then you would wind up repeating yourself on another page. And then there's probably like, I don't know, like really, if we went really into Facebook, there's probably like 10 different locations where these posts actually show up. So if we didn't have some sort of reusability, not only are we rewriting code over and over again, but we're also having to like redo all this logic and have all this wild JavaScript probably in one file. We're probably like changing the names just ever so slightly so that there's like a feed post and then like a profile post and then like all of this other wild stuff, right? Oral Games, hey, thank you for the raid. I appreciate that. How y'all doing? How was your all stream? What were you up to? Welcome, welcome. Thank you for the raid. We are getting into the beginnings of what is React. So React is a library for handling your UI, like the things that you interact with in a web application. So if you've ever wanted to learn anything about React, you're in for a treat because that's what we're doing tonight. What were y'all up to? What were y'all working on? What were you getting up to these nights? And thank you for the raid. I really appreciate that. Hope you had a good stream. But yeah, so we're just getting into this wonderful thing called React, and we're talking through right now, why did Facebook create React and what benefits did it give to them? And so what we saw right now is that there's a post on kind of like our homepage, but there's also posts on our own feed. There's posts probably like in 10 other locations. So if we were writing all the code for posts, and we didn't have some sort of reusability, right? If we didn't have some sort of reusability, right? If we didn't have some, I got to read this. I'm really curious and different. I saw you post it. Hold on. Let me read this real quick. Here's history React. Jordan was working on folx.js, which eventually became React, which was written in vanilla JavaScript. After React was taken over by the React team, Jordan moved to work on Reason, which was then rebranded to BuckleScript and finally Rescript. After Jordan left Facebook. Interesting. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, there's some really interesting history here. So we're talking about this reusability. We see this post, right? We have this post that looks like as Kat says, a screaming smiley face, right? And we have this idea that we have a post here, but there's posts all throughout the Facebook application, right? And we wanted some portion of reusability, right? That's the first thing. The first thing we got, right, the first thing we got 19, right, was reusability. The idea that we could reuse these posts throughout the rest of our application. But there's also a lot of stuff that we're keeping track of when we're looking at our posts as well, right? We're looking at the idea of being able to maybe change things ever so slightly. So let's talk about posts on Facebook, right? Posts on Facebook have likes. Posts on, let's say, Instagram, which Facebook also owns, and I'm not saying the code bases are the same, but let's use this as an example. The posts on Instagram also have likes, but there's like one major difference. What's the difference between like the likes on our Facebook posts and the likes on our Instagram posts? What's the little difference there? Thumbs and hearts, exactly. Either a heart or a thumb. So what if we had reusability, but we also had the ability to pass in some important bits of information so that those reusable pieces could be different when we needed them to be different, right? So we could be reusing our posts on Facebook, and we could pass in the thumbs up icon, and we could reuse our posts on Instagram and pass in the heart. So far, that reusability piece, we're going to call those components. We have this components that are reusable. Our post is the component that we can reuse throughout our application. What do we call the little changes that we pass into our component? What are those called? The little changes that we pass in so that they might render differently, so that our posts render differently on our Facebook app and render differently on our Instagram app. Yeah, we're going to call those props. So with React, we got reusable components, but we also got this idea of props, like these things that we can pass in so that the components are the same, but they take in little differences, little nuances that we need, right? So if we look over here, we'll see another example of that. Let's pretend, right, over here, we have these little red dots. And these little red dots, we're going to call those like, I don't know. They're a component. We're going to say they're a component, but we're going to say that let's say that's a notification component, right? Those are our notifications component. World Games, thank you again for the raid. I appreciate that. Memphis, thank you for the hydration. And Cookies, thank you for converting. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. Like you can switch. I love that you're switching to using Jeff Bezos's bucks. That's important. Thank you so much. Thank you for the Prime Gaming sub. That's the first time I've seen it. So you convert it from Prime Gaming to a tier 1 sub. That's what that means. Oh, thank you. I'm like learning. I'm like reading. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Thank you for converting from Jeff Bezos's bucks to real bucks. That means a lot. Thank you, Cookie. And Memphis, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Alrighty, folks. So I'm going to call this a notification component right here. We have these little red dots, right? When there's somebody new to watch or when there's something new in the marketplace, that dot goes from gray to red. Over here in if we had like our friends list over here, right? When somebody logs in, the dot goes from gray to what, chat? When somebody logs in, like one of our friends is on our friends list and they log in, the dot goes from gray to what? Cookie bucks. There you go. Thank you for spending your cookie bucks. That's funny. Yeah. They go from gray to green. Now, those are also a notification component, right? The only difference, right? The only difference is that this notification has a red color, and this notification has a green color. So how can I reuse my notification component, but say I want these ones to be red and these ones to be green? How could I do that? Exactly. With our props. Cool. Leon, just post the Cash App so we can stop giving our bucks to Bezos. I actually don't know if I can do. I don't know if that's TOS just to say don't sub Cash App. But I've made that mistake. I'm never giving y'all my Cash App because I don't want your money. As you all know, the subs and the bits, that all goes to Resilient Coders. And I made a joke to my Resilient Coders cohort. We have what are called cliff weeks, which is where all your stuff is due. And if you don't get it in, it's your time to depart the program. And we were joking about like how you can just Cash App me to make it through Cliff because I'm not like, I don't like what are ethics or morals? I don't care, right? Like go ahead, and if you want to make it through, just go ahead and Cash App me. And I meant it as a joke. but I put the Cash App as a joke, and everyone started Cash Apping me. So at first I was doubling whatever they sent me. I sent double back, but then everyone just kept sending it, and so I had to I was like, I just have like explicit messages that are in like all bolds that says, please stop sending me money. Like, it won't help you. I don't want your money. But yeah, I've learned my Cash App. I can't make jokes around the Cash App because then people wild out. So that'll never happen. Also, we're about to make another wonderful donation to Resilient Coders. We'll be at $4,000 that are going to RC, and all that money goes right into our emergency fund to help our students with mental health support. So if they need to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that money comes from y'all. So thank you so much. It's been a huge help. There are a lot of folks that didn't have the resources to pay for mental health providers, and we're able to get the help that they need to help them get medication. And so that's all from your subs and your bits and all that fun stuff. I appreciate y'all. Cool. So we saw some examples of components. We can see the example of a component when it comes to posts. We can see the examples of components. Hey Reggie, thank you for adding onto the fund. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the gifted subs. I really do. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's a lot of gifted subs today. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for being here, Reggie. So we saw the components with our posts. We saw our components with this notifications. And then there's something else interesting about the notification component, right? Sometimes it's going to be gray, and sometimes they're going to be green, right? Sometimes they're going to be gray, and sometimes they're going to be a different color. So when the person is logged in, or if there's something new to watch or something new in the marketplace, right, it will go from gray to a color. The ability to go from gray to a color is an example of our components also having what, chat? Yeah, state. Exactly. It's an example of them having state. Wonderful. Bobby Lynn, hey, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Reggie. Yeah, an example of state. So when we start to look at Facebook's like actual applications, it makes a lot of sense why they wanted to create something or have something to handle their UI that gives them reusability, that also gives that reusability a little bit of nuance when we pass in our props, and also realizing that our components could have something that would change over time, our state. And the beauty in the name of React is that when a component state changes, what happens, chat? When a component's state changes, what happens? Yeah. It reacts. Exactly. It reacts and it re-renders. So whenever the state changes, we see that component re-render. And when the component re-renders, the last kind of like beautiful nail in this UI puzzle here is that when that state changes, it reacts and the component re-renders, right? What's the old way? The things when we were building our full stack apps, but in the past, what would happen when we needed to change something? What would happen to that page? Yeah, we'd wind up refreshing the whole page. But with React, we don't actually see the whole page refresh. We just see that component re-render. And the ability for that component to re-render and not the whole page refreshing happens because React has this one last beautiful bit of functionality or feature, and it's called the what? Ryan already got us there. Yeah, the virtual DOM. Exactly, the virtual DOM. So last time we saw some code that walked us through looking at components, got us to be able to see props and state, and we also got to see that virtual DOM in action. So we're going to take a look through this code again, not my code, but we're going to take a peek at it, and we're going to see these things in what I would say is not the best looking code, but I think it does help highlight these individual pieces. So we're going to take a look through those again, make sure everything's fresh, top of the brain. Then we're going to look at some vomity old school React code, like an actual application. And then we're going to look at a newer application, and then we're going to call it. So we're probably going to go for like another hour, some change. And then I want you all to get right to your homework. Your homework is going to be to rewatch the things I asked you if you haven't, to watch if you haven't, to answer some questions that I need you to answer before Thursday. And then I want you to comment some code for me. So you got a little bit of homework before Thursday. So we'll see if we can end a little bit early. I know I always say that, but we're going to try so you get a little bit of class time to do it as well. All right. Let's keep pushing. What questions? I'll show you. Here are the questions. So I don't want you really thinking about them right now, but they are what you're gonna have to answer before Thursday. And I want good answers, right? So I'm gonna ask you, what is React? Why would you use React? What are components? We kind of already hit those today. What is JSX? What are props? What is state? What are the difference between functional and class-based components? Give an example of a functional and a class-based component. What are React hooks? How does useState work? And then give an example of useState. So you got a little bit of stuff to dig through here. And that's what we're going to see. That's what I'm going to ask you to work on before Thursday. Alrighty. Got to hit those React docs. Exactly, purpose. Cool. So React comes with a bunch of APIs. React contains all the APIs for complaining components, for creating components, right? And React. Hold on, I don't want to say this because I know I'm going to jinx myself, but I'm gonna knock on some wood. I'll throw some salt later. The funny thing that I've noticed about doing teaching live is that once you've been talking for a while, your words start to mush a little bit. And I'm just really surprised I haven't said some outlandish stuff, because it's a lot of Freudian slips, a lot of jumble words, and I'm just throwing that out there. I know the day's gonna come where I'm gonna be like, fuck, I shouldn't have done classes live, but today's not that day. I don't need to redo the poxels. I was just watching that clip the other day. But if something wild does ever come, we'll come back to this moment when I said it probably would happen. And I really appreciate the YouTubers that can just redo the thing they said that was really weird. So you're here for all the weirdness. You're here for all the oddness. Thank you. Alrighty. So React comes with a bunch of APIs. The main one you'll see a lot is the React API for creating components. And the other big one we'll see is React DOM. This is what enables us to render things to the actual browser DOM. So we need those two kind of APIs that come with React, or else we couldn't really do what we wanted to do. We couldn't build components, and we couldn't eventually get those components into the browsers for our users to see. I complain about components all the time. Thank you. And Memphis, thank you for the hydration. Indifferent, thank you for the hydration. Let me get my hydration in here. I got some lemon water, a little bit of iodine and drops in here. I got my iodine drops. So I got that in here. Thank you for hydration, Memphis. Thank you for the hydration, Indifferent. Cheers to you both. Thank you. Alrighty. A drink from the future. What country do you get your water from? Fiji, baby. That's all I do. That's it. If it ain't from Fiji, I ain't drinking it. Get out of here. This whole bottle, Fiji water. That's all it is. I take it out of the small bottles, and I put it in the big bottle. All right? Small bottle, put the big bottle in here. But this is all Fiji water. You're just going to have to trust me on that. I only drink Fiji. It's the best tasting water. Voss used to have me until they started switching up. They started making most of them plastic instead of glass. You would have kept the glass. I would have been a Voss person for life. But nah, Fiji water. Looks like tap water. Get out of here. No, I love tap water. I've always drinking just tap water. It's delicious. It's got the fluoride that I need. Yeah, and different. They like stopped making the like you go to the store and it's all plastic now. But I used to really dig the glass ones. Alrighty, chat. What is JSX? What is JSX? Sugar? No. 3 letters. A syntax extension for JavaScript. Oh, I like that. There you go. Oh, it's on the slides. It's on the slides. Yes, let's read. A syntax extension for JavaScript. I was so proud. I was like, oh, yes. That's right. It is a syntax extension for JavaScript. Yeah. Catches Journal highlighted their message and said, if you don't know about Berkey, I love Berkeys. I wish I could get one. Get a Berkey, best damn thing ever. Filters 99.9999% of contaminants, everything, yeah. So if you don't know what Berkeys are, is they're like these big like metal cylinders that you pour water into, and it filters everything out, and the water comes out. Like a canister, I guess. Yeah, a big metal canister you put your water in, and it comes out. Very popular in the tiny house communities. I used to live in a van, so I always wanted one for my van back in the day. Yeah, it's like a really, really good Brita. Exactly. Cool. So yes, JSX, let's get back to it here. I'm sorry, folks. Syntax extension to JavaScript. JSX is a shortcut for using the create element API. So it's a way of creating React elements, and JSX kind of has its own syntax, and you're going to see some funky stuff. You're going to see things that are going to have to be spelled a little bit different, but it's also going to enable us to like plug cool stuff, JavaScripts into our components, and so it's going to make it easier. It's going to look like our EJS, or like our templating language. That's going to enable us to plug things in, do JavaScript inside the components, and all that fun stuff. So we're going to see you're going to see things that look a little funky. It's not really HTML. It's not really JavaScript. It's a combination of everything, and it makes it so that it's a little bit easier to write our components. I'm not giving you what you want. Y'all want to know about the van. Come to office hours and ask about the van. Did I tell you at office hours that I saw Kanye? Did I tell y'all that? Yeah. Y'all weren't here for office hours, so I told you that I saw Kanye the other day. So come to office hours. I'll tell you all about the van, and I'll tell you all about Kanye. Cool. It was in the title. It was. Alrighty. We talked about props already when we were looking at the Facebook image. Props are simply arguments that are passed into our React components. And the beautiful thing is that our components can be configured upon instantiation by passing properties to the constructor. What does that mean? That's a lot of fancy stuff there. Let me read that again. Components can be configured upon instantiation by passing properties to the constructor. Those are some big words, and I don't know what they mean. So I'm going to take him as disrespect. Watch your mouth and help me with the sale. That needs to be a voice line. I'm adding it as a voice line. I'm going to work on that. Ooh, OCC coming in hot. Change up what the component renders by passing in different properties to the big long code. Exactly. Yeah. Pass props to super while extending component, yo. Hey. Cool. So the idea here is that instantiation is kind of like creating the component, right? And the idea is that when we're creating the component, we can configure it. Like we can make it the specific type of component that we want, like the specific value that we want in that component by passing stuff in, right? Right. And so we know that these components are really just classes originally, right? Just classes. And we know that those things that come out of a class come out of that class constructor. And so we can pass stuff in during that kind of constructing phase and in the process of creating the object. And when we pass those things in, the things that we pass in as we're creating that that component, the object, the component, we're going to call those things props. So if we were looking at our notification component, when we go to instantiate or create it, we would pass in the color red for this one. And we would pass in the color green for that one. Or if we were creating a post component, we would pass in the thumbs up for, since we're on Facebook, or if we were on Instagram, we pass in the heart. So just the idea of that we're passing stuff in as we're creating the component. And then you can't see it. What is state, chat? Do I prefer functional or class-based components and why? Functional. Cleaner. I like the way they look. I don't have like a fancy technical reason why. I just like it. I like looking at my functional components. I liked them when they were dumb, and I like them even more now we got hooks. Oh, I like that. A way to keep track of what's happening in a component. Okay, that's a good one. States is where you store stuff related to the component. Yeah, state is like current status. I like that. It's a good one too. Cool. Yeah, so each component has this built-in object, and this object is called state. And it's where we can store stuff related to that component. And whenever that object or that state object changes, it forces the component to react and re-render. Okay. And so we saw this when we go back to the Facebook image. If there was nobody live for us to watch, that would have been gray. Right? That would have been gray. But once somebody went live, we would have some sort of state object in that component that says like live went from false to true, right? We had a live property on that object, and it went from false to true once somebody went live. And as soon as they went live and that state changed from false to true, it triggered the component to re-render. So we could have a notification component that took in props to know whether it should be red or green. And that notification component could have a state object that had a live property. And that live property starts off as false, and it's just representing whether or not somebody is live. And then once somebody goes live, we would change that from false to true. Since it's our state and our state just changed, that causes us to react and re-render that component. And the beautiful thing is that the whole page doesn't have to refresh, just that piece that's related to the component changes, and we credit that to the virtual DOM. I like indifference there. State equals storage of information we want the component to react to. Exactly. When it changes, we want the component to react. Beautiful. Because if we go back and we look at Facebook, I know we're using this example a lot, but it's just so much is here. It makes so much sense why they use React, right? Think about all the things that have to change. Ready? Let's see if we can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of your friends. 12, 13, 14 for the likes. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So just real quickly, I saw 26 things that we're keeping track of. And I'm sure there's more. I'm sure I missed a bunch, right? So could you imagine not having stateful components that react for us without us having to worry about it, right? Could you imagine having to keep track of all that stuff in a JavaScript file, having no reusability if you wanted to reuse those pieces over again, having to like be really weird and like rename each individual piece, right? That's just bad news. And so the idea that we can have React that has reusable components, we can pass in props to change those components how we need them to be fit, and that each component has a state that when that state changes, the component knows how to react. We don't have to worry about going somewhere else to figure it out. It just knows how to react, and just that portion of the DOM changes. We're not refreshing the page for each new alert. We're not refreshing the page for each new friend. We're not refreshing the page for each new person that goes live. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I really, really do. This makes building our UIs so much easier, and it reduces a lot of stress from having to keep track of all this stuff, from having to worry about how it all comes together. And I know that when I'm working with other developers, right, I know that they want to fix something. They're not digging through this massive code base, this muck of garbage. They can go right to the component they care about, make changes just in that component, not mess up any of my other code, right? Boom. They did snap by building this. I agree. Could have used this knowledge pre 100 hours. No, that's the beauty though. You can't appreciate the beauty unless you've been through the muck, right? Once you've been through the muck, you just appreciate the beauty. And you can always refactor. Exactly. Factoring's for closers, right? You can always go back and refactor. 40 hours a week project. That's funny cake. All right. How do we feel with the core bits? How do we feel with props, state, virtual DOM? How do we feel with all those pieces? Feel like we have a good idea? Because we're going to see them in action. Great, Gucci. All right, good. Show me some code. All right, let's look at some code. We're going to look at these three pieces that we have, these three examples that we saw before, and then we're going to look at some whole bits of code when we come back from break. So let's go ahead and take a look at our examples. So you don't have to learn classes in React 2021. I still think it's worthwhile to learn how to use class-based components just because you're going to see them still. But you can use functional components now. All right. Once again, this is not clean code. This is vomit. This is chunky, but let's look at it. All right. Over here on the right-hand side, you see three different cards. If we're writing React, you know that I'm probably reusing a what to make these cards? Chat, what am I reusing to make these three cards? Funny, you have the best emotes. They're always wild. Primogen. Is that Primogen's keyboard with a butt? That's hilarious. Yeah, you know that I'm reusing components here. Exactly. I'm reusing components. And you notice that my components are all slightly different colors. So what do you also probably think about this component? What do you think this component uses that helps me change these colors ever so slightly? Yeah, it has some props that are handling the color. So let's look at these older class-based syntax here. And I'm going to start with something, and I'm going to show this a couple times tonight. I have this index.html, and in here is this div with the ID of app, right? This is where I'm going to wind up rendering all of my React. I'm going to use that React DOM to put all my stuff into the DOM inside this div. If we look at my actual code here, the last thing that we see is this rendering, where we're rendering this whole element as you see it here into the node. And all the node is that app div that I just showed you. So before we actually look at the components or anything like that, I just wanted to show you that what we're eventually doing is taking our components and putting them into the DOM, right? And so this is some older code, but you'll still see it every once in a while. And so it's important to note that that's what's actually happening. We're taking this div that has a bunch of card components in it and plugging it into the DOM where we see this div with the ID of app. Cool. Now let's take a look at the actual component up here. You can see that I am using, what am I using here, chat? What if I just highlight? Let me actually circle this because it's kind of a little hard to see the highlighting. What am I using here? What we talked about it earlier tonight. What is it? It's an example of what? Yeah, destructuring. Yeah. So I'm taking the component out of React, right? Taking the component out of React, using destructuring. Esden, hey, thank you for the raid. Hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for the raid. What are y'all up to? Nice to see y'all. Thanks for stopping by. We're in the middle of learning about some React. We just talked about like why React is helpful, what it helps us do, and now we're looking at some chunky, vomity old code. As then, how was the stream? What were we all up to? Welcome. Glad to have you. Thanks for stopping by. What are y'all up to, folks? Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Hey, there we go. So yeah, we're getting into some React goodness tonight. You got here just in time to look at some chunky code, but we're glad you're here. Hope you had fun. Hope the stream was good. Oh, from one dev board to a newer one. That sounds fun. That's fire. Well, thank you for stopping by after all that hard work. Cross, I know some of those words. Me too. Oh, I get it. I know exactly. I know exactly what they're up to. That's really cool. I'll definitely stop by. I would love to see what you're up to. That'd be really cool. Thanks for swinging by. Alrighty, folks. So we said we saw some lovely components here. We can see that the components are differing ever so slightly. So we know we're passing in some props. We saw that these card components are being rendered and where we're actually plugging them into the DOM. We got a lovely raid. And let's go ahead and start digging into the actual component. Cool. So we're grabbing the actual component out of React. And we're also doing some destructuring down here, grabbing rendered out of React DOM. Remember, these are like the APIs that we're going to be using. React DOM is the API that we need to actually plug stuff into the DOM. What the heck? What is that? I always look at funnies emotes. They're great. Cool. So now we know that we have React DOM, so we actually plug this stuff into the DOM when we need it, and we can actually go ahead and create our component. And here is the older kind of class-based syntax. We're creating a card component, which is the name that we made up, and we're extending from the component class that we got out of React. Inside, we have this lovely render method, and we have our kind of default style, some spreading, our final style, and we're going to notice that we're going to eventually change the background color of each of these components. And you should notice two interesting things that's happening with this background inside of the component. What are we first noticing about background color, chat? What's a little interesting there? What are we noticing about that? Why is background color standing out to me? Yep, we talked about this earlier, camel case. You saw the camel casing. And why is it camel cased again? Why is it camel cased? Yeah, because it's actually JSX. We're not like writing actual CSS here or anything like that. This is the JSX syntax, and it requires us to use the camel casing here. Great. And then the last thing that we have here is we are grabbing our props. So we have this.props.color, right? This.props.color. And the beautiful thing about this.props.color is that we can see that each of our card components down here are passing in a color property. So the first one is a color of sky blue, the next one is steel blue, and the last one is yellow. And what winds up happening is as we go to instantiate that component, like we talked about in the other slide, we're passing in that property. And so the first component that we utilize is going to be a card component that has that lovely sky blue. The next one's steel blue, and the next one is yellow. Cool. Yeah, we could actually change it to backlight. I think that'd be a little bit more appropriate. I like that idea. It's a really good one, Pine. Cool. So this is pretty simple. We're rendering out some card components. We're passing in props. We're all good. Let's look at an example of state. So here's another bit of code that we saw before. Not my code, but we're going to take a peek. How come your code sandbox is colorful and mine's not? Not sure. Actually, like I use it for these examples, but I haven't really used it too much. I'm sure there's some sort of, it's recognizing this is like a JS file. Maybe yours is not recognizing it as a JS file. Cool. So let's take a look at this component here. Once again, we have let me scroll up here a little bit. We have a new component, a new class that we're creating. We're creating a component from this class. So this one's going to be called a water class. So it's going to be a water component. And inside this component, we have a little bit more stuff than we've seen before. We have state, the older way of doing state. We have a set temperature method. And we have our lovely render method. And then finally, let me move this over a little bit here. What we're actually returning, like what the actual component is going to be made from. Right? And so this is what actually is going to be spit out when we use the component. And then down here, we kind of cheat a little bit. We have like that app that extends, and we're pasting in our water component down here. So here's where we're using our water component, and up here's where we're creating our water component. Can you create, like, is it okay? Like, you can create your own bots for, I get you should be able to, right? Create your own bots for Twitch chat. If somebody creates me a bot for Twitch chat that whenever somebody says, shouldn't you just teach them Express? If it times them out, like if it bans them for like an hour, I'd be really appreciative. I'd make it worth your while. Funny, you're on it. All right, I would love it. I'm dead serious. If you'd work on it, I'd be. You got VIP or something fun. Well, I was like, I'll just ban them. It's all in good fun. It's all in good fun. I like the meme. Alrighty. So we got a new component we're creating using the old class-based syntax. Has state, has its own method, and we got some logic here inside the render and then the actual piece that we're spitting out. If we look over here, we have an input and some text. An input and some text. Like I said, Lizard, not mine, really old code. All right, really old code. Alrighty. So if we look over here, we have this input. Let me show you what happens. So let me go ahead and put, let's put 34. And we see that water is considered to be a liquid. And let's do 212, and we got a gas state. So we have this little bit of code here that's changing, right? As the state changes, our components react and re-render, right? And so we can see as I change the value inside this input, we can actually see the component re-rendering live. And the beautiful thing is I have a little bit of logic here so that it says whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. We'll leave plasma out of this for now, based on what we've changed state to be inside this input automagically. Exactly, for those playing bingo. So there's a couple pieces here. Like I said, tonight's not about knowing the nitty gritty. It's about kind of seeing and understanding, right? And we'll get into the nitty gritty as we kind of move on Thursday and then Tuesday and Thursday of next week. So if we look at this, we have state, which is starting off with a current temperature property of 10. Remember, state's just an object that our component has. And when that object changes, right? Right? That's when the component reacts and re-renders. We also have a method that we've put in here. And all this method does is it changes the current temperature property and state to whatever the current value is that's actually coming from the input. So the cool thing here is that we're actually changing state via this method. And when this method runs and changes state, that's when the component reacts and re-renders. So if we come all the way down here, we can see that the input itself has an onChange method. And what it's going to do is it is going to fire the set temperature method whenever the value inside this input changes. So if I change this to 32, we're back to solid. If we go to 34, we're back to liquid. And so as I'm changing what is inside this input, this lovely onChange method in the input is firing our set temperature method up here. And all this set temperature method does is update our state. And as it updates a weird word here. Why? I said something interesting here. I said update's a weird word here. Why would I say updating state is weird? Anybody know why I might say that's weird? Anybody pick up on that yet? I don't like the word updating state. I don't like updating. Oh, Cross is on it. Yeah, state changes doesn't update. It's because we're kind of like throwing out that whole object and creating a new one. It's mutable, right? And so the idea here is that like we're not actually like changing something about it. We're kind of just like throwing it all out. But that's a deeper thing. We'll save that for next week. But I didn't like the word updating there. Cool. So let's get back to it. We have this lovely input with onChange, right? And onChange, we take whatever values in the input. We call the set temperature method, and we're setting current temp to be that value. Cool. So as soon as the state changes, right, we know that the component has to re-render, right? Right? It has to re-render. And so as soon as that value changes, right, and we go from 10 to 34, we got to re-render. And here's all the logic that's going to happen as we go to re-render. We're going to have this conditional. We're going to see, hey, is the current temp less than 32? No. Is current temp greater than 212, equal or greater than 212? No. So the only thing that we could think of is that it is a liquid, right? So every single time state changes, this component has to re-render. And as it goes to re-render, right, it goes through this logic. And then eventually we see here in our paragraph that at 34 degrees, using our state, water is considered to be, and then we're just going to use that state of matter variable. So over here, we see our state of matter variable using the old school var keyword, right? And so all this JXX logic here, just so that we can have a lovely bit of text that reacts and re-renders whenever the input changes, because it changes state. And whenever state changes, I need everyone to say what happens in chat, please. Whenever state changes, what happens to our components? What happens? I want it on the record here. Look at it go. It reacts and it re-renders. Exactly. And when it goes to re-render, it's going to go through all of this logic here to figure out whether or not it's solid, liquid, or gas. And we get this lovely change. And only this little bit of the DOM is actually going to change. We're not refreshing the whole page. Just this little piece is staying with us. And that's how we can see using the state that it's at 34 degrees Fahrenheit and that it's a liquid. Beautiful. I see indifferent. It's chunky. Remember, it's chunky tonight. All right. One more, and then we'll take a break. One more, and then take a break. We're kind of a little over. Let's stop here and take our break. We're a little over. I'm going to go ahead and put our 5-minute timer. If you're new here, if you're here from the raids, we stop at the top of the hour to be healthy, to take a break. And so we're a little overdue for our break. I'm going to go ahead and put a 5-minute timer up here. I'm going to put some lovely break music on. If you're able, please get up. Move around a little bit. I have a voice line called Vomit. I don't know what that means. Why do I have a voice line called Vomit? That's weird. All right. You know, it turns out 5 minutes is perfect amount of time. Says VW buses and other vans. You know what? It is a really great time to discuss VW buses and vans. I'm going to run some ads real quick, just so that new folks joining us don't have to sit through them. And let's talk about those vans, actually. Peace, Jesse. Have a good one. Indifferent thought he ghosts. I gotta figure out how to say it. We don't ghost. We don't get ghosted. We ghost. There are a number of questions chat about how the state changes, what checks changes to things like friends list, etc. So we can update our state through a lot of different things based on like what the user is doing. And eventually what we're going to do is we're going to tie our front end and our back end together. And so we're going to be able to have things that change that we can eventually have different UI things happen. So like when we saw in Facebook, when that person goes live, then that that would change from gray to red, we can do that as well. So it doesn't have to be just like what the user is doing directly. We can also make fetch requests, or we'll use something called Axios as well and figure out some stuff that's coming from other sources as well. So state can change in a lot of different ways. Come on Sunday. I'll talk all about the van on Sunday. Yeah, and different. I think just for like the intro to React, I don't like going too deep into it. I want folks to kind of walk away, kind of like seeing React a little bit, and then we'll have time to go deeper with everything. So I just think people kind of get lost in the sauce, especially with all that code on the screen. So it's kind of a conscious choice not to go super deep, but we'll get there. I've been seeing Axios everywhere, and I keep thinking it's a media company. Jonathan, just send me another mod mail, please. Send me another mod mail just to make sure, and we'll get to you. I got a lot of time this week, so I've been going through. Like, I cleared out all the mod mails from a couple days ago. So there's new ones now, but I got through most of them. So send me another one. I'll make sure I get through them soon. I stayed in an Airbnb that was a converted VW van. That's pretty cool. I love me some Airbnbs. Yeah, I lived in a van for a while, and then my wife and I were just remote for about a year or two, and so we just traveled everywhere and would spend a month or two in Airbnbs in different places and move on. It's a fun time. Yeah, Mesh, send me a mod mail. Ape, go ahead and do !100 devs. That'll tell you everything you need to know. All the past classes are on YouTube, and make sure you join our Discord so you can get help as you're going through stuff. That's your goal. What's your goal in 3 months, Ghost? No worries, Abe. Ooh, SUV and Airbnb, nice. Thug, it's not up yet. I was editing it. It'll go up. Like I'm aiming for tomorrow. It was a weird, like, it was a weird series of errors with that one. One, I was learning how to edit stuff because I don't actually know how to do that. And then 2, I kept running out of storage. But that's never going to happen again. Running out of storage is not a thing that'll happen to me ever again. I'm not going to let it happen. I got 4 8 terabytes for my drives, for my NAS. So I got, with RAID, I have 24 terabytes of storage. Yeah. So I just got 4 Seagate Iron Wolves so I can have all my storage. And then inside of the PC, I have 2 terabytes of Gen 4 storage. So it's super fast. But I had to put the extra stick in there because just classes, like not office hours, not extra stuff, was over a terabyte already. Like I filled up an entire terabyte of just class, not office hours, anything else. And so once I started trying to work with the crash courses, they were too big, and so I just ran out of space. So it took me a little while to get the NAS and everything. That's getting set up. And I put an extra terabyte of Gen 4 in there, and so it won't happen again for a long time. My setup's a hot mess right now, but it's way different than it used to be. But I do have an older one. Let me see. As folks come back from so here's my old setup, which is kind of similar to how I have it set up now. So this is the old one. I have my eGPU here. I have my gaming stuff here, but I've switched out this keyboard. I have my Kinesis down here, my laptop, phone. Yeah, so this was the older setup. What I've added to it is that there's a monster PC back here. So imagine like the monsters of monster PCs back there. And then a NAS like over here. And then, yeah, the mic. And I have a new camera here. So yeah, that's it. I'll post a picture once my desk isn't trashed. You know what? Screw it. Everyone post these like immaculate like desk photos. I'm gonna give you the real. I'll post the real with my shit all over it and looking a hot mess. I just gotta make sure there's nothing identifying on it, and then I'll do it. All right, folks, come on back. All right, so let's look at this last one here, where you can see some lovely bits of things happening here. So actually, the cool thing is we can open this up. Let's open this in a new window, and take a peek. So the interesting thing though is I have a lot of tech. I paid for almost none of it. Let's just throw that out there. I have a lot of tech. I paid for almost none of it. The beautiful thing about when you get a tech job is you can negotiate professional development funds. So most of my stuff comes from professional development funds or PD funds that I've worked into the contracts that I've worked. So my monster PC, all my screens, my camera equipment, everything, my laptop even, all came from PD funds that I negotiated whenever I negotiate my contracts. So one of the things we're going to talk about as we get into Mega Month June, and it's time to start negotiating as you get offers coming in, because I have a lot of really great tech. I have not paid. I think the only thing that's like tech-wise that I've honestly paid for is my NAS. That's it. Yeah, I use Macs. Well, the stream's coming from a PC, but I'm capturing my Mac. Cool. Chair, part of PD funds. So I'm on my Herman Miller that got negotiated as part of PD, and I have the newer one in the other space in my house. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, I just want to throw it out there because it's something I hope for all of you, that as you're negotiating your contracts, you get some cool stuff out of it too. Especially now that there's work from home bonuses that everyone's getting. Boom. Slay, yes. Let's go. Slay. Just got my work from home gear today. Got some nice stuff. I love to hear it. If you don't know, Slay recently got a job. They were going through 100 devs with us and got some of that sweet work from home gear. I love it. Good to hear it. Let's go. That's amazing, Slay. Thank you for letting us know that. That's really cool. Slay slays. Let's go. Alrighty. So when we look at this right here, and we notice kind of 4 things that are similar. Your spidey senses should be tingling. What do you think we're using here? What are we using here? Chat. Components, exactly. And what do you know about these components? What do they have? What can you tell just by looking at that these components have? Excuse me. Yeah, props and state. How can you tell that these components have props that are being passed in? How can you tell that these components have props that are being passed in? Yeah, there's some slight color changes, right? And size changes, right? So there's size and color changes here. Cool. And how do you know that there's state? Because this thing's being updated. And we see that this thing keeps getting updated. This counter keeps getting updated, which if we know anything about state, what does it mean that these pieces keep doing? What are these pieces actually keep doing? Yeah, it keeps re-rendering, re-render, 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 right? It just keeps reacting and re-rendering every single time. And so let's take a peek at the component and see what we got here. Alrighty. There we go. So you can see that I'm reusing these counter components that I created. And you're right, there's two different kinds of props I'm passing in. I'm passing in a color prop and a size prop. That's why this last one is big and this first one is small, because I passed in not only the colors that are changing, but also the size. And if we come back up and we look, we got some interesting bits here. You can see that I am grabbing my props and using what to get individual color and size variables. What am I using here to get individual color and size variables? Yes, exactly, Cross. Doing a little destructuring here, And so we have a little bit of destructuring here, which means when I pass in these props, my color and my size, I wind up with a color and a size value, and you're going to see me use them in here. I'm gonna go ahead and pass in style, and you're going to see me use them down here. I'm going to pass in the actual size. I'm going to pass in the actual color. Cool. Up here, we also see that we have this dot state, and whoop, I'm going to go up here and look at state. State, and I have the lovely count property on that state. Once again, we saw some destructuring down here. We got a lovely count as part of our state. It's a property on our state property. First person to name a member of state property gets a sticker in chat. Let's see. Funny. All right, I got a sticker coming your way. Send me a mod mail, Funny, and I'll send you a sticker. Alrighty. So we have a count property on our state. And the final thing that we're actually spitting out is an H1 that says doesn't change, and a paragraph that has the actual count, like from our state in it, plus like our actual styling. Cool. So we'll notice that this is what's eventually going to spit out. And we see 4 of those because we actually have 4 counter components down here. And there's one other big thing that we see here is that we have a component did mount method. Component did mount is what type, what is it? What is a component did mount? It's a what? If you did the reading, you would know what it is. Component did mount is a what, chat? It's a lifecycle method, exactly. And so what's going to happen is when this component renders, this method fires. Okay. And so what's going to happen as soon as this component renders, we're going to set an interval that runs every second until kingdom come, right? Until the computer breaks down. So every single second, we are going to set the state to whatever the state was plus 1. When we get to our hooks, we wouldn't actually do it with the plus 1. We have something called previous state and stuff like that. So we'll see it a little bit differently later on. But for now, I think it just makes sense to see it this way. Every second, we're going to add one to our count state. Right? To our count state. And so every second, we're adding one to state. So if we're adding one to state every single second, what do we know about what our component's doing every second? If we're changing state from whatever it was to that plus one, what's happening to our component every single time? Yeah, it's reacting and re-rendering every second. Every second is reacting and re-rendering. And we can see it. We can see the component reacting and re-rendering over here on the right-hand side. And the beautiful thing, though, is if we go ahead and come over here, and I showed this last time, is we can use our developer tools. Now, they're like the OG like tools that come with Chrome, but you'll eventually want to install for next week the React Dev tools, and I'll show you how to do that on Thursday. There's two different dev tools we're talking about. So, but even in just like the OG dev tools here, if we inspect, and I go over to the vertical ellipses here. Do vertical ellipses have a different name? Are they still ellipses? Can ellipses be vertical? I don't know. That's weird. All right, we go to more tools. Look at all this stuff that's in here. Stuff didn't even know that was in here, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff. There's this rendering one. I'm going to go to rendering. All right. And we can turn on paint flashing. And once we have paint flashing installed, well, not installed, but turned on, you can see every second our components are re-rendering. But notice it's only the piece that needs to update, not the whole page. The whole page is not refreshing. It's just that piece of the DOM that does need to update, right? And you can see it. You can see the things that don't change aren't changing. Things that don't need to change aren't changing. And the stuff that does need to change is changing. Cool. And this is an example of what, chat? Thanks, Ghost. What is this an example of? The fact that this is changing, but not this is. DOM reconciliation. There you go. That's a good name for it. And we're able to do this via React because of exactly. I always can never say Hun. How do I pronounce your name? ANHAUHUYNH. I always feel bad I can't pronounce it. Hun? Is it Hun? Yeah, it's an example of the virtual DOM, right? It's checking the differences, all right, and reacting and changing the pieces that need to change. Cool. All right. So we were able to see in these examples, very close. If you send me a phonetic, I'll try. We saw that components coming together. We saw the ability to pass props to change our components so slightly. And we saw the ability to have state. We saw that state can change over time. And we saw an example of the virtual DOM so that as our state is changing over time, our components are re-rendering as that state changes. We're seeing that the whole page isn't re-rendering, just the bits that need to, as an example. Cool. So we worked through all those. All right. Yeah, the virtual DOM is using diffing, right? The virtual DOM keeps like its own little bit, like its own track of its own stuff and track of the real DOM, and creates a diff based on the changes. Y'all might have seen diffs on something like GitHub. If you've ever tried to accept like you're looking at people's changes on GitHub, you'll see the diffs in the code. Yeah, same idea. All right. So we saw all these pieces come together. Let's come back to the slides. I'm going to close this one so it's not still running. And what I want to do now is I want to see two different versions of code. I want to see some code that uses the older class-based components like we've been looking at, but like a full project, right? like a full project. I want to see like the older class-based components way. And then I want to see some newer functional components. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at these two sets of codes. The first one is some very vomity old React code that I think is just cool to see like the components actually come together, which is neat. So we're gonna look at that first, and then we're gonna look at a to-do list that just has the ability to add to-dos. That's all it has for now. We're gonna keep building on top of this as we go throughout the week. And your homework is to comment out all the code that we have here. Cool. So first, let's look at this React simply vomity code. You can click on the link to get the repo if you want to pull it down, or you can just watch with us live. So let me go ahead and I'm just going to do my npm start. Oh, do I have something? I already have something else running. Hold on. There we go. 1 second. Alrighty. Like I said, tonight's about seeing, not about really so much the nitty gritty. All right, so here's a really ugly site. Why is that so big on this? I don't know why it's so big right here. All right, so here's a really ugly site. I have a header, a main, an aside, and a footer, which are all components. Okay, so it's not just regular HTML that's making this hideous mess. I have turned them all into individual components, writing some really old class-based React code. So let's take a look at it. Let's take a peek. We got some time. We're going to make it. All right. So I'm going to start off with the thing we talked about before. We have this HTML file. And in this HTML file, we have this div ID root. This is eventually where all of our components make their way into, and this is where like all the stuff we need to render out to the actual browser, that's where it winds up. Inside of our source, we have all the components that we're going to make. I didn't create individual folders for them or anything like that. I just kind of kept them all in one nice, like one location. Eventually, I'd probably make like a components folder or something like that. But for now, I just have these files that are there. We have this index.js file. And what it does is it takes this app component and uses React DOM to actually render this component to the DOM. And what it's going to do, come on, VS Code, it's going to take that app component and render it into the div that I just showed you. So at the end of the day, what we're going to be doing is taking one component that has all the stuff we care about in it and placing it into that root inside that HTML file. And remember, we have to use React DOM to render stuff to the actual browser DOM. So that's what we're doing there. That's all we're doing. So what we're going to have to look at is like, all right, well, if app is the thing that's being put into the browser, then everything has to go in app. So let's go ahead and take a look at app. Here we go. Like I said, this is some older vomity code, but I like it. I think it shows off what we're able to do here. So you can see that I am grabbing the component like from our React API, so we can go ahead and actually build components. I am pulling in my header component, my section main component, my aside component, and my footer component. So these are all components that were made that I am importing into this app component. And you can see them all in here. I got header, section main, aside, and footer. Right? So I was able to import all these components, and then I was able to put them inside of this app extends component. Nowadays, you wouldn't do like the completing tag. You would just do the short end. But that's what we have here. So the idea is that eventually we know that all the components we made are going to be placed into this one app component. And this one app component is what eventually is going to be rendered out to the browser. Okay. Now, I see some folks ask about it, so it's important to note that there's a lot of other like accessory files and stuff in here. I didn't create those. I used create React app, right? It's all coming from create React app. Thanks for mentioning that, Ghost. It's all coming from create React app. Create React app is what built out this whole structure. Don't worry about that for right now. Don't worry about that for right now. We're going to get to that on Thursday. But know that you're not going to have to remember how to pull in all this stuff. Create React app is going to do it all for you. What I want you to realize is that we have 4 components that we're going to use. And let's go ahead and take a look at this component. So let's take a look at the footer component first. That's probably the easiest. The footer component, you guessed it, returns a footer. That's all it does. It just returns a footer. You can see that I've imported some footer CSS. So I can have like a CSS file just for the footer. A lot of times you'll probably see this inside the actual JS file in the future, but you can see how you could import a CSS file. Let me go back to my footer.js. And notice that this footer, right, this footer looks normal, all except one thing. What's a little off about this footer? Yeah, the class name, it's camel case. And that's leading us to show that we're probably writing what here? We're writing what at this point in time? Yeah, we're writing JSX. The render is just what's going to be actually like rendered out from this component. Like what are we going to actually spit out from this component? We're going to return an actual footer. That's all we're doing. We're spitting out a footer here. And I gave it a class name of footer so that if I wanted to write some custom CSS, I could. All right, so I got a footer. Let's look at our section main. Section main is the same thing. All right, section main is the same thing. I'm just returning a section. It has a class of section main, so if I want to throw some CSS on it, I can. But my section main component is just spitting out a section. Let's look at the aside. Same thing. Just spitting out an aside. Nothing wild here. All right, nothing wild here. Just spitting out an aside. And the last one, the only thing that actually has props here is our header. And once again, we're using that kind of little bit older class-based syntax here. And I have this style object that I'm creating. And I'm saying the width is equal to this.props.width, right? This.props.width. Izzy, it's a convention. Some people don't do it. I used to do it back in the day, just when I was writing React stuff. Yeah. Cool. So I'm able to pull in my props that are going to be there when I actually go to instantiate the component, right? And I'm also pulling in props for background color. So when I go to actually use the header component, I'm going to have to pass in a width prop and a background color prop. And then down here, you can see that I'm simply using that style object to style this header. All right? So this entire style object, I'm plopping here, and I'm going to go ahead and this header is going to have that style, and we can see that style is coming from props, right? Our background color and our width. So let's go ahead and actually go back to app. All right, let's go back to app here. And inside app, you can see that I'm using that header component, and I'm passing in back color and width, which are actually my what? What are back color and width here? Robo, thank you for the hydration. Cheers to you. Yeah, I'm passing those in as props. So we would expect my header to have a background color of green and a width of 50%. because this is where I'm actually using the component, right? So if we actually go back to the browser and we look, all right, we can see that it has a background color of green and a width of 50%. I could change it if I wanted to. I can change it to 100%. And when I go back, you can see now that it's 100% width and still has the background color green. And then you can see here's my section component, here's my aside component, and here's my footer component. And the really cool thing about components is I could reuse them if I wanted to. So if I go back to my code, and you know what? I want another section and another aside. Let me go ahead and copy those. Boop. And I'm going to save it. And I'm going to refresh. And now you can see it got like bigger. Like, see how this is the whole screen now? It used to be half the screen. Now it's the whole screen. And if we go ahead and we inspect, we can see that we have a header, a section and a side, a section and a side, and a footer. So we're actually seeing those components that get rendered out find their way all the way into the DOM. So these are very, 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 very simple components, but you can already see how easy it was to reuse them. I didn't have to go out and write more HTML. I didn't have to go and write more CSS. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to repeat myself at all, except for just to copy those 2 lines. So very, very quickly, if I had think about if this component was huge, right? All right. Imagine if this component was huge. Imagine it had a lot of bits and whistles and things like that. How quickly I was able to reuse that component. 1 line. Everything that was inside that section, I got to reuse. Let's do something funky that we probably wouldn't actually really do. Like, we wouldn't have like 2 headers, but just for the sake of demonstration, let's do it. And let's go ahead and call this like, I don't know, let's go chat. Give me a color. Give me a color, please. I don't know if salmon's a CSS color. I think it is, right? And we'll do a width of 33%. Cool. There we go. So if I come back, oh, all right, it is. Nice. All right, so we got a lovely green header at the top, and we have salmon. I learned that that's a CSS color today. Of course it is a CSS color, and it's at 33%, and I didn't have to code any of this out. Instantly, 1 line. What? It's so amazing. The idea that all that stuff that was here in the header, like figuring out how to pass in the width and the color and spitting out the header, all of that was simply done by reusing that component. And so as we know that our code bases start to grow, right? And we know that our components get more and more complex, that reusability becomes so advantageous. 1 line and you get all that other stuff that you created. And somebody can come back to this and be like, you know what? That header is broken. And if they don't like how this header works, they know exactly where to go. They're going to go right to our header.js file and they can make all the changes they need to do and just work on that 1 bit of code. I love it. It's so cool. It becomes so quick. And like I said, tonight's not about knowing this syntax. It's not about like knowing how to actually code this crap out or how you would import. None of that for right now. All right. It's about learning and seeing like, oh, we have these components, right? And these components can be reused. These components have prompts. These components have state, right? There's a couple different ways to create them. We have this older class-based syntax, and now we're going to see the functional way of doing it, and then we're going to stop for tonight. Are components objects? Well, Yeah. All right. Ghost got me. Ghost, you're on fire tonight. I appreciate you being in here in chat. Ghost said, it was so funny. I was like, well, I was about to say, well, and then I saw a difference. It's more nuanced than that. Technically, yes. In reality, when you write my component, this gets transpiled to React create element, my component, which does special things with class components. But at the end of the day, yes, they are objects. But when we're talking about JavaScript, everything's kind of objects almost. So it's weird. And you know that we're dealing with classes, and classes give us objects. Cool. But what Ghost said, exactly, Kay. It's all objects, always has been. All right, so this is just showing some really simple ones. I would love for you to take some time to come back to this and just play with these. Add an extra footer. Be weird. Get weird with it. Add an extra footer. Add an extra section or an aside, right? See how it comes together, right? Play with it a little bit. Like I said, tonight's not about the actual code. It's about understanding, right? Jane, I appreciate that. And Fabulous. Hey, that's cool to hear. All right. So we saw some really simple ones using older class-based syntax. Let me show you. Let me end this server real quick. And let me show you some newer syntax here. Let me do an npm start. And I think I should be good. Development server is going. Boom. All right, here's a to-do list. Very, very simple to-do list. And we're going to kind of, the exact functionality we had with our older to-do list, we're going to redo in React, and we're going to tie it to a backend next week as well. I specifically tried to stay very close to what Brad did in the React video. So if you, DC clear work for Notion, if you watch Brad's video, you're going to see a lot of the kind of the same stuff here. Because I intentionally tried to do it, but I removed the fluff because I felt like the fluff was a little confusing in some parts, and so it's just like a simplified version of it. And so here is our to-do list. And can you count the components, chat? How many components do you see? I see 3 and 6 is popular. 2, 5, 3 million. 5, 3. It also depends on like how fancy. I mean, like, am I individual components or are we talking about total components? Let's say individual components right now. All right. So here are my components that I'm gonna draw. Let me make this a little bit bigger actually. All right. So here are my actual components. I have a header component, a add to list component, a list component, and then individual to do components. Let me make this a little bit cleaner. So I have my header component. I like how I said make it cleaner and it just got worse. All right. More than 0. Exactly. That's correct. All right. So that's my header component. Just the header. That'll be the easy one for us to look at. The add to list component, my actual list component, and then my individual to do items as their own component. Cool. So that's how I broke this to do list down. It's gonna be a lot of code here, but if you did the video, it should make some sense. If you haven't watched the video, your homework is to finish that video. Please get through the video. Even if you find it hard, difficult, doesn't make sense, that's okay. I need you to get through it so that we can work through code together on Thursday. All right, let's take a look at this. Once again, I'm showing you that we have this root where we're going to put all of our stuff eventually. We have the app.js, and app.js, like we saw before, app.js is going to use the header component to render out our header. We have an add to do component that we're going to use to render out. And then we have a list component that we're going to use to render out as well. And the cool thing is you'll notice that my list right now is the parent component, and inside that list component is going to be what? Inside that list component is going to be what? Yeah, to-dos. So I'm going to have like to-do components, right? I'm going to have like elements that are inside that list, like a component that's inside that, like a child component that's inside that list. Cool. Some creative liberties I've taken here. I'm using global state, which doesn't have to make sense right now. We'll get to that next week. I'm using global state, and I have a lovely add to do method here that helps me work with my state. Okay. But before we get into all of that, right? Before we get into all that, let's start by looking at the header component. We know eventually we're going to use that header component. And we have title, and title is going to be my what, chat? Title is going to be my what? What's title going to be? Yeah, it's going to be a prop. So let's go ahead and look at our header component. You can see I have this folder I created called components. And inside of it, I have my header.js, which is my component. I have the new functional component. Ooh. Ooh. Fancy. And I am using the OG props. Eventually, I'm going to show you destructuring here as well, but I wanted to show the original props way too, because I think it's important to understand where it's coming from. So here I have a new functional component, and it has a div that has an h1 in it. You can get rid of the div if you want. I kept it. You can actually just remove div and just keep the brackets there, right? Yeah, I guess it should be a header, right? That makes sense. Yeah. And so we should go ahead and we have this lovely h1, right? And inside that h1, you can see that I'm using two things. I have header style right here, which is an object, right? An object that has our font size and our text decoration in it. So you can see that I'm kind of keeping my CSS right here with my component. And so I pass in header style here, and that means that my h1 will be 40 pixels in font size and be underlined. And once again, you'll notice the weird camel casing because this is technically JSX, right? So this h1 will be 40 pixels and have an underline. And then I had to pass in, I had to have like a parameter here that's catching the props, right? We're catching the props. And what I'm using is that props that was caught, and I'm pulling the title property off of it. So that's how I'm able to get from title to-do list. And that's how I'm able to get to-do list inside of my header here. So this h1 winds up having a lovely title inside of it, and that title came from the prop here of to-do list. Cool. And so you see that it's big, it has the underline, right? And it says to-do list. If I changed my prop to something else, all right, and I come back, we can see that my head and my h1 now has Bob's Burgers. Cool. Alrighty, so that's the header. Pretty straightforward, nothing too wild here. You're able to see that we can have our style all inside the actual component file. we're able to take in props. This is the slightly older way with not using destructuring, but we'll see the destructuring way in a second. And we're able to grab the actual individual prop off of it. I want to show you the list. I want to show you let's do the add to do first, and then I'll show you the list. So here is the add to do. No, let's do list first. So here is my list component. You can see that the list component is taking something into itself. It has like this to-dos property, but I'm passing in to-dos. And if we look up here, you can see that I have my state, right? I have my state. And I have this lovely use state, which is a what, chat? Whenever you see use state, you know that I am using what here? Y'all debated exactly. Yeah, I'm using a hook here. I'm using the use state React hook, exactly. And I'm using the hook, and I'm also using an example of what here. I'm using an example of what? Yeah, this is array destructuring. Exactly, array destructuring. And so the cool thing about the use state hook, right, is that you wind up with two things that you care about in the beginning. The actual state itself, which we're just calling to-dos, and what enables you to like modify the state, right? To change state, sorry, right? And so we have the actual state and what enables us to actually change state. And that's kind of being destructured from the use state. And whatever is inside of the use state parentheses is what the state gets started as. So if I had put in here dog, right? State starts off as string dog. But I have a lovely array that has 3 to-dos already inside of it. They all have IDs because of something weird, and they all have the actual to-do item, right? Drink water, make a healthy dinner, and exercise are the 3 items that we have that are our initial state. Okay? And what you're seeing here with this list is I am passing those to-dos into my list component. Passing my to-dos, like that whole state, passing it into my list component. Let's take a look at our list component. And what you see here is some destruction. Destruction is what you see here. No, you see some destructuring here. And instead of having to do like that props and then props dot to-dos, instead of having to do like that prop syntax that we saw in the header, you can just do the curly braces with the name, and then it's as though you passed in the props. So I can go ahead and use to do, right? And know that I have passed in that state. And instead of having to do like props.to-do or anything like that, I'd use the newer destructuring, and I've passed it in, and now it has the name to-dos. So what I wind up doing is I had 3 to-dos, part of that state. And what I am doing is mapping through them. And since there are 3 to-dos, I'm going to create 3. Hey, Mashi girl, come on. Mashi's tail is so like intense. No, you're gonna hit the cables. Come here, dog. Come here. Good girl. Yes, good girl. Good girl. Now they're hitting the green screen. Sorry. So we passed in 3 to-dos. Right? We passed in 3 to-dos. And what we do is we're looping through those to-dos and using 3. What did I just highlight here? Hey, Jimmy. Thank you for the sub. 8 months. Let's go. Come on, Mashi. I know. I'm almost done. Hey, little girlfriend. Yeah, I'm creating 3 to-do components. So that's my last component. So let's step back. I know this is weird. I know if this is your first time looking through it, it's kind of odd and complicated. But let's take a look. We have the list to-do that we're passing in. Right? We have our list component here. Right? We have our list component. That list component, if we look at it, takes in the to-dos that came from our state. And what we do is we're looping through those to-dos and creating a to-do component for each one. So we take a to-do from our state and create a to-do component for it. And if we look at our to-do component, all it is a div with an H2. And so what we're able to do is to pull off each individual item, right? We're able to pull off each individual item from our to-dos. We wind up creating an individual div with an H2 for each of them. And then all the way back in our app.js, we wind up with a list of to-dos. So there's some nesting there, but the idea is I have this list component and I have individual to-do components. Why do you think I decided to break them down into 2 different components? Reusability. Yep. One is a container for the other, so it's kind of like thinking about like what components really are. Ooh, to help with the state changes. Yep. So they can react separately. I like that. And maintainability. These are all good uses, right? Like the idea here is that we might have lists that are different, and we might have lists that have different types of things in them, right? We might have some that are to-dos. We might have some that are different. And so the idea here is that we might want to reuse lists differently than we might want to reuse to-dos differently. And so we have them as their own. What are you doing? I know. I'll be right back. 1 second. Come on. 1 second. Mama's not home, so they're like, it's time. Let's go. It's time for dinner. It's time to, your time's up. Class is over. Let's go. Mashi's not playing no games right now. Okay, one more time. So we're going back to this. We have a list. Inside that list are our individual to-do components, right? Want to show you one more thing, and then your homework is to comment this out. There's a lot of things that are kind of named similarly here. There are a lot of like weird destructuring that's going on here. And so I want you to step through this, all right? I want you to step through this and actually comment it out. See if you can follow the chain from list passing into to-dos to list actually mapping through those to-dos, and then each to-do actually having its own item. That's a lot. It's weird. And so I want you to spend time between now and Thursday commenting it out. I want you to comment everything and follow that chain. It's really important. I just want to show you the add to do real quick. Because I want you to also try and comment this out, right? I want you to try and comment this out. Ooh, we're getting some good questions here. Why in H2 instead of an LI? Well, because maybe we're going to make some changes on Thursday. Gonna make some changes on Thursday. This is still some vomity stuff. We gotta have things that we're gonna clean up and change, right? So here we have this lovely add to do. And actually, we're over time. I'm going to save this for Thursday. I don't want to get too deep into this. I think it's going to throw people off. What I want you to be able to work through before Thursday is you have some questions I want you to answer. I want you to be able to answer these questions, right? make sure you can answer these questions before Thursday. Before Thursday comes, I also want you to comment out this code. I want you to specifically pay attention to the idea of having state, passing it through to the list, and then passing it through to the individual to do. So a couple things you got to do before Thursday. Answer these questions. I'm going to ask for your Google Doc that has these answers. I'm going to ask for your commented code. So have it like in a GitHub repo. Fork my code, add comments if you want. All right, I'm going to ask for that repo. Not comment out, just add comments. Answer these questions, add these comments. If you haven't watched Brad's video, you must watch it. This code will make a lot more sense come Thursday if you've already watched the video and seen the basics of what we're going through. And make sure that you have completed the Scotch.io guide to the beginner algorithms. I gave that to you last week. So there's a lot here. I need you to answer some questions. I need you to comment some code. I need you to complete that Scotch.io course. And we're going to come back Thursday. We're going to keep digging into this code, hopefully making more things make sense. But hopefully from today, you got to see some stuff, right? You got to see components coming together, right? You got to see some props, some state. You got to see some older class-based components. You got to see one kind of simple functional component in the header. And on Thursday, we're going to come back to this code and we're going to dive deeper into all that weird destructuring stuff. We're going to see more functional components, see more about state and how we're using it in a real application. And once we feel really confident with it, we're going to go into next week. And next week, we're going to really build out our to-do list using all React. So you got a lot of homework. Make sure if you're here for Mega Month June that you turn in that form by tomorrow so that I have it and I can add you to the private channel. But hopefully this is kind of getting the gears a turning as to what React is, why React can be helpful, and don't forget to submit the form exactly below. So thank you everyone for coming tonight, for hanging out, learning some React. Ghost, thank you for all the help in chat. It was really helpful. And we're going to do a raid so you can get those channel points. A lot of you lost channel points tonight. So let's go ahead and get you some more channel points by doing the raid. So we're going to do a raid real quick. And once we're done the raid, you'll get those channel points and you can get to your homework because you got a lot. Mega Month June, folks. We got to go hard. So please, 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 please don't let any free time you have that you can actually be working on this stuff go to waste here. Use it all, and we're gonna come back together on Thursday. So let's go ahead. You know what? I know we rated them recently too, but we're gonna go back. Rav's really been putting in work. They've definitely been helping us a lot. So we're going back to them. Let's send them some love. We'll do some newer folks next week. But let's send love to folks that are helping us because we know we need help, all the help we can get this Mega Month June. So let's send them some love for helping us on Discord because they've been going ham on there. So let's send them a raid. And I'll see you all over. I'm gonna hang out for a little while too. And then I will see you all on Thursday. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you all for hanging out tonight. Thank you for getting into some React. It was good to see all of y'all that weren't there on Sunday or Friday. I love getting to see all you in chat. So let's go ahead and send some love to Rav. I'll see y'all over there. Peace, everybody. Have a good night.